This is a Telehealth Solutions CardioPod, and I'm going to demonstrate how you would use it in an everyday situation. The first screen, which is the eligibility criteria for the test. They want to make sure that the person that's having the test doesn't already suffer from or is diagnosed as having high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, kidney problems, or had a stroke or a heart attack. And also that they are in the age range between 40 and 74 and residents in the PCT. If the person having the check confirms that, we move on to the next screen. This is the screen where we take the patient's information. The next thing to do obviously is the first part of the health check, which is the blood test. So we need to take a small finger prick sample for this, and the blood is placed in this cassette just in the well there, which is then inserted into the machine. But just before we do that, we need to ask when the patient last had something to eat or drink other than just plain water. So if we put 8 hours in there, that makes this a fasting test, which is a more accurate test. So the cassette goes into the cholesterol machine, and this will measure the cholesterol levels and also the blood sugar levels of the patient. And while that's being done, we move to the next screen. And here we're going to measure their height, weight and waist circumference. So we will ask the patient to remove any heavy objects they have in their pockets and ask them to stand on the scales, and then the scales will take a weight measurement, and once that's done it will deposit the results into the machine. We also then have to measure the height of the patient, and that is again registered as centimetres and metres and also feet and inches. And then finally measure the waist circumference. So the next thing we're going to measure is their blood pressure, and for that we use a sphygmometer. And as you can see from the screen, we're going to do 3 readings because we need to get the most accurate result that we can for this particular part of the test. And then we would select by clicking on the cross which of those we're going to use to go towards the final risk assessment. Having done the blood pressure, we move to the next screen, and this is the Audit C alcohol consumption check. And as it's a touch sensitive screen, it's at this point that the patient themselves get involved, and there are 3 questions to answer. First one, how often do you have a drink containing alcohol? And by picking one of the answers, they select it by touching the screen. And then the result of that will be a score, an Audit C score. And if that is over 5, say that we increased the number of times that the patient has more than a certain number of units, you can see the score's gone red here, which shows it's an excessive amount of alcohol input. So move to the next screen. Okay, this is a sort of a check questionnaire to ensure that the patient that we asked at the beginning of the test didn't have any pre-existing conditions. So this one is, are you a diabetic? Do you suffer from chronic kidney disease? How many hours of aerobic exercise do you have per week? And how many portions of fruit and vegetables do you consume per day? So that's completed. Now we move to the next screen. As you can see, the results have now been deposited in the machine from the LDX. But those results go forward now into the final risk analysis. Okay, so now the CardioPod has put together all those results and is now displaying the cardiovascular risk of this particular individual. As you can see, it's displayed here on the scale as greater than high risk. This is the first opportunity that this person may have had to know what their risk of having a stroke or a heart attack is. You can now play around with the results with the patient sitting there and explain to them what will happen if they carry out any remedial action to reduce their risk. You can see their risk now has dropped to low risk. So just by very simple interventions, this particular individual has gone from a 40% risk of a stroke or a heart attack down to below 10, which is low risk. The next screen now becomes their actual health check report. So after the results have been discussed with the patient, this is what they will take away with them. And most importantly, you've got here the risks that were registered by the checks, and then next to it the goals that have been aimed for by this particular individual. And importantly, next to that, a list of actions that can be selected. Now, it comes as a drop-down menu, and each time you click on a drop-down arrow, you get a series of actions that you can input to standardise the action profile for each individual. And these are easily inputted on the machine before the test has been done. This health check report is what the patient takes away with them. It gives their results, their goals, and also the actions they're going to take to achieve the goals that they want to achieve. We now press the commit button, and what that does then is it prints out those sets of actions and those results, and it also prepares to send the results through to their GP.